Well, good evening. It's lovely to see everybody, and thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself because it is about investing into you. It's been a really great 24 hours since we last went live. We had a few challenges yesterday, but as you know, problems and progress, they go hand in hand. They really do. And, you've got to adapt to move with what's going on. What you don't do, what you don't do is you don't change your goal, change where it is you're going. That's so important. And I've got to share with you that most people don't know where they're going. And that's a real shame because a lot of people in this day and age are really caught up and being pulled around by media, by their mobile phones, by just about everything and anything other than what it is that they want. And when you start focusing on what you want, then life really does start happening for you. So I'll go back over that. People go through life without having a goal, not a specific goal, something they really want to be, do, or have. And in life, you get to live how you're being. You have to be before you can do. You got to be open-minded to take in a new idea. You have to be persistent to get where you want to go, to have what you want to have. You got to be who you need to be to do the thing you need to do. And that's important. So I just really want to ask you to send me in some feedback on the communication today. Is it coming through good? Is it? We're hoping it is because we've done all our tests today, and streaming with a new software, it's given us some advantages, but it's not about us. It's about giving you more of what's important to you. So let's see what's coming back. So where are you? Okay. Okay, I can hear movement in the back. That's one of our technical people coming to tell me what's going on. And I'm either going to get a thumbs up, I've got a thumbs up. So that means it's great. So here's the good thing. We're going across a couple of platforms, so I don't have real numbers. So I'm just happy that whoever's here, you're going to get what you want to get. And that's all this is about, okay? It's about you becoming the person you need to become to have the things you want. And you're going to have your paradigm. That's something we're going to talk about today. That's why I've used the word pop up. You're going to see going around to your self-sabotage is going to turn up for you. Now, self-sabotage is a very powerful, strong word. But you see, that's what we do. We pick up these things and we have them mean certain things. I was in a conversation with somebody today and I shared with him, I'd made a decision about my knowledge of numbers, money. When I was about 7 years old, I had an incident where I went out to buy an ice cream from the ice cream, we used to call it the ice cream man. It was a man, he was in a van and he was selling ice cream. So it's an ice cream man, get over it. So what was really cool was I got to realize that lots of people go through life and don't realize they're making decisions. I was probably in my 40s then, when I had that breakthrough with a conversation with a young lady who was a great coach. I was sitting in a restaurant with about 100 people. And what basically happened for me was through asking some really cool questions. And remember, the quality of your life is the quality of the questions you ask yourself or others. Yeah, it's the self-talk you go back to. So you've got to make sure that it's good. And by asking quality questions, you get great answers. And this young lady asked me a question. I can't remember what that question was. It's going back some time now. And whatever it was, in an instant, I suddenly realized something. I realized that I would be making a decision based on me going out as probably a 7 or 8 year old. I'm 63 now. So if you want to know when it was, look at the day decimal money changed in England for good. Um, I got an ice cream, went to give the guy the money, and he said, "Your money's no good here." And I couldn't get me ice cream, and that's 6, 7, or 8, whatever I was. That's a big thing, right? That's a big thing. And it kept turning up in my life. I knew how to earn money. I knew how to, if you want to say make money, but really it's the printers that make the money. Um, but I didn't understand it. So I kept getting myself into all kinds of trouble. And when you realize it's the conditioning, the program, whatever it is that you're running, creates and generates your world, you then really get to understand you've been responsible for what's going on in your life. In them early stages when mum and dad or your guardians, whoever was looking after you, was, you know, they was doing the conditioning, they were putting the habits in there, and you were picking up good habits and you was picking up not so good habits. And those habits, just as you go through life, they turn up in different places. And that's what tonight's about. It's about understanding it. But first of all, let me ask you this question. Now, did you write your goal out yesterday? Because you're going to learn tonight. Without a goal to go after, all you're going to do is achieve other people's goals. I had a conversation with a wonderful gentleman today, and basically he was sharing with me how long he'd been in the industry he was in. I think there was more things he needed to share, but he didn't. But there you go. When we're learning. But you see, when you get up and you go to work every day and you do your best, or some of you do your best, some of you unknowingly will do just enough to stay where you are, so that you don't get the sack, but not too much to make a big difference. And that's an important statement because I've been there. Yeah, you do just enough to keep your job, not too much because you're in the crazy thinking, crazy world. But you see, if you do more than you're paid for, soon will come the day when you get paid for more than you do. And that works. It does. Zig Ziglar used to say that. I used to love that man. He was a great guy. And all the other people around him, in that era. But you see, they wrote and they studied and they learned stuff and they shared it. And I'm only here because it was shared with me. And nobody gets to be where they are without a helping hand. That's what this week's about. That's why I do these live events. It's me saying, hey, look, I've got all this stuff behind me. I've been reading and studying since I can remember. And I was always told, always told, they said, you're dyslexic. You're missing words out. You're doing this, you're doing that. I didn't believe it. I get to read every day, and I've done that for most of my adult life. I mean, learning didn't really start until I got out of school. But school to me was a lot of fun. I could stop the EVE in. But let's get to it. I hope you've written a goal down. I mean, I had somebody put in the group, I want to be a billionaire. But I'm going to tell you, I only know 3 billionaires. One owns a hotel chain. When I say I know him, I know him to nod and say hello to, and I'd use one of his hotels. That gentleman had a goal and a dream when he was um, taking baggage off the baggage thing down at one of the London airports, and he realised that what was happening is the air stewardesses, it was mainly stewardesses back then, and they had nowhere to stay when they come down. So he got his money together and he bought a like a guest house. So these, when it was BEA or whatever it was back then, it was a long time ago. And he started his empire because the gentleman really does have an empire and he is a billionaire now. But he'll talk to you. Most people who are successful, I'll say that again, so most people I've ever met that are successful have got there legally and by, doing good things. They'll give you the time of day. They'll sit down. If they've got the time, they'll make you, well, most of them make you feel really important anyway, but they'll sit and they'll answer your questions honestly because they got there honestly, and they got there because they had a goal, and then the goal got bigger and the goal got bigger and they kept on going towards it because it was the overall thing in their mind, in their thinking. It's what happens. And yeah, you get some hiccups along the way, but you keep going. That gentleman, that first one I was telling you about, billionaire there, he owns, one of the biggest chains of certainly UK hotels, but he's got them across the world. When you fly out of airports in the UK now, you're probably in one of his car parks. Okay. And the man's about adding value, quality, and style, and that's why he stays where he's at. The other one of the other billionaires I know uh, of is, we all know him. He invented the Tesla car, didn't he? About, Tesla. And I don't know him, but I just know he's just always up to something. He's always adding value. He's always giving something. It's the way he's wired. He's different to the other guy. And another billionaire is Tony Robbins. Been very blessed to be in his presence. And that man is just about giving. That man just, that's all he does, all his ideas. It's about giving to you. It's, look, my belief and what I'm about is I want to do everything in my power to make life good for you, to give you the tools that I use because somebody shared them with me. I have a program behind me. I have one down on this side and I have one on that side. Both of those changed my life. This one here has brought everything I've ever read. Okay. You're going to see more about that in a week. So I'm not going straight over to it. That's but everything I've ever read and studied in a process, because you have to do everything and anything in a certain way. And the reason why self-sabotage comes around, because you're actually doing things in a certain way. But we've got to make a couple of 2mm changes so that as that happens for you, okay, as that happens, we start making things happen for you that you want to happen, that you choose to happen. The young lady you put in there, I want to be a billionaire, so happy and grateful I'm a billionaire, is can't turn around and say, well, don't be silly, because a lot of people do that. But there's billionaires on the planet, and there's quite a few been made in the last 5-6 years, really, with today's technology and things like that. But you got to believe it. You got to. It's not the billionaire you want to be. It's the what you're going to do with it. Hopefully, you're going to make a big positive change in the world. Hopefully, you're going to make a big positive change in the world, because everybody I know who is, they are serving people at such a high level. And you can be, do, and have whatever you want. But let's go back to it. Have you written a goal out? See, I'm going to show you in the slides tonight. We'll go into it a bit deeper, briefly, but it's like, make a list of all your wants. What is it you want? Not what you don't want. What do you want? I was talking to somebody today. I talked to a lot of people, right? I was talking to somebody today, and when we got to the crux of it, it's like the biggest. I want financial security and freedom of time. Well, that's a big. They are cliche things in certain industries, but you see, what is it to you? Financial freedom. Surveys have been done. Most people's financial freedom is if the car breaks down, they haven't got to worry about how they're going to get home. They ain't going to worry about how much the garage bill is going to be, or if they got to just change a tyre, they're not going to worry about it. Or, you got children and they want to bring some friends round to eat. It's okay. You can do that. Now, for some of you going, oh, well, that's a little bit. No, get real. The reality of life is, for some people, that's a challenge. Financial freedom's being able to go on holiday and have a break when you want a break. Money gives you choices. Money shouldn't rule your life, but money's up there. Zig Ziglar used to say, it's up there with oxygen. You need it to live. I'm not sure where you can live without money on this planet, even if you're getting given it by a government or something like that, which is a big nerve at the moment for a lot of people in the Western world. But you see, if it's doing good, then it's doing good. Anything that's doing good will be abused by other people, but that's just life. Don't get caught up in it. Don't let those things, their outside circumstances, take you out of your game. I said to you yesterday, these things, they are so clever. They've got you, me, everybody. I just, if I catch myself, I'll throw the phone down sometimes. But it's like, because it's very clever marketing. It's very clever. It's whether it be a company selling a product or service, or whether it's a government or a big whatever's going on in the world trying to manipulate, because that's what happens. The best way to do anything on a large scale is serve and be of use, where you can help people, genuinely help people. And we talk about that a little bit later in the week, where you can take your business and you can have I'll tell you now, I don't care what business you're in. I'm going to share things with you this week. And you'll take your monthly turnover and it will be something that you look so far back at in a matter of 6 months to a year, think, did I really just do that? Was that all I was doing? Because I'll show you things that you put into action. Yeah, your yearly profits, your yearly turnover will start becoming your monthly, just through some simple changes. And when you get it and when you see it, you'll be training your people on it. You will, I promise you. I promise you. People say, why don't you go after the business market, Lee? I said, I ain't going after anything. He said, I deal with human beings. Yes, some of them own some very big, successful companies. Some of them, you know, you are, if you're on the call, is you've got your own successful business. Because you're people who have taken what we talk about and shared, and you've done, most people haven't done day one, right? But you do day one and you find a goal. It's going to change because anybody who's worked with me knows, anybody who's gone through this process knows within a short time of being in a process, they all get bigger. The goals get bigger. You start realizing you can be, do, and have whatever it is you really want, and that's the thing. And that's what I'd say. Going back to the comment in the card today was, being a billionaire, or being a billionairess as a lady. But it's like, if you're going to do that, really believe, really do it, really just get out there, and you'll be meeting people, and we're going to talk about environment tonight. So anyway, let's have a look at it. There's 6 questions in your book. If you haven't got your booklet, I'll show you. Okay, so we're talking about the power of your mind tonight. Okay, and there's a process. And there's a process to doing things in a certain way as well, which is very key. But we're going to talk, when you went online and you registered, some of you went in and you done the little form of questions there, and I compare myself with others. Well, I'm going to cut straight to the chase. Like that's where it is on day 2 there. Okay. It's technology today is wonderful, isn't it? You see the way the cameras change and things like that. I've sat in a room. I've been very blessed to sit in a room, my wife and I, with there's about, I can't remember, 400 or 500 people, if that. And actually, there was several billionaires in that room. That was a Tony Robbins room. He was doing it. He's obviously a billionaire. But there was quite a few in there. There was one gentleman I had a cup of tea with, and he said, "You're from London?" I said, "I am, yeah." He said, "Anybody in the football world?" I said, "Well, I know a couple of people, but not really well. But I know a friend of mine who's knows a lot going on in Tottenham and things like that." I said, "Why do you ask?" And this guy went, "Well, I want to buy Tottenham. Tottenham. I wish he would buy Tottenham." But he said, "I want to buy a football team." And I said, "Oh, what do you mean you want to buy a football team?" And when we got to it, this guy was looking to buy a Premiership football club. I was just sitting there having a cup of tea, I can't remember, it was a coffee break or whatever. And amazing. But let me get back on point. When you fill this thing out, for you that said, do you compare myself with others is the question. And a lot of you, over 90% of people said yes. It's human nature. It's okay. Do I trust my decisions? Biggest thing there is sometimes. A lot of people don't realise, they say, yeah, I do. Well, you do only when there's certainty there, but we have to put the certainty there before. But all of these questions, I'm worried about what other people think, their opinions. I put things off until later. I'm afraid of rejection from others. I'm afraid of making mistakes. I have trouble concentrating. I have a problem with procrastination. I don't feel like a great leader. I'm afraid to sell. Well, just look at that. Every one of those, when I sat in that room with 500 people, and they were 500 very, very doing okay in life. Now, which was interesting because a couple of them was in the hole for 4 or 5 million. But that's how they lived their life and how they structured it. And everybody will have an opinion on it. But do you know what? The good they done for other people and charities and less fortunate people on the planet was off the charts. The whole room was full of people who were givers. Part of being in that room was being able to do that. Yeah. So when you looked at these questions, we then added some more, because those 9 questions, people at the top of their game, there was, people running big businesses. There's times when these will turn up in their life. but you recognize it for what it is. It just is what it is in the moment. But it's like when you're driving along in your car and a red light comes up. Yeah. It's just letting you know there's something to look at. You don't stay focused on it. You stay focused on it, you hit the car in front or come off the road. It's just a little signal. And when you look at that, just stop, and then you'll have a little word with yourself. And we'll talk about the kind of little words to have with yourself, because self-talk is so powerful. I've got to be honest, I've got to adjust that light up there. So please excuse me for a second here. Okay. Let's see if that's any better. There you go. That's a little bit better. Now I've gone down. It is live, guys. It is live. So let's look at this now. Negative thoughts won't get you where you want to go. Positive will, but it's not about positive rah-rah. It's about getting the right things going in here. Okay. So let's have a look at that. Okay. So we want to look at the power of your mind. But just to understand, there's times when you won't believe in yourself. Let's put that in context. You don't believe in yourself at the moment because you don't have the thinking and thought pattern to actually do the thing you want to do. Because who you are now is getting the results you have in life. I'll say that again. Who you are now is getting you the results you have in life. Like when you first went to drive a car, if you drive, you know, you're probably excited to want to get your license, but when you first got behind that wheel and you know, it is, whether it was a shift manual or whether it was auto, whatever it may have been, is initially it was like, I tell you, left becomes right, right becomes left. Somebody asks you what your time, what your name is, and you tell them the time, because the brain does that. Got to understand what we're sharing, and what I'm talking about for you is stuff that is what it is to be human. And most people go through life. Unfortunately, there's no a manual to life. So you go through life, you know, with the masses. And then there's the ones that break out and start understanding. Do you know what? I do get what I think about. I do. And as that happens, I'm just going to do something here. As that actually happens for you, is you start thinking bigger. You start looking at where your focus is. You start planning your life, because you started realizing what I think about comes about. Anyway, so just understand what those questions are. Some of the most successful people on the planet would have said yes to some of that, because there's some stuff that you're really great at and there's some stuff that we're not great at. So you're a leader in some things, and on other things you're a follower, but you've got to be a smart follower before you become a great leader. And that's not why you keep learning. The gentleman today I spoke to was 72 years young, sharp as a 25-year-old, healthy as can be, come across as healthy, spoke healthily, got big goals. Didn't want to share them all. I don't blame him. Okay, but so what I want to do now is look at day 2 for you. Okay. You got to discover the power of your mind in this session. Okay. The importance of yesterday is probably going to come through a bit more today for you. You've got to have a goal, but you see, there's doubt in your goal. You got some guy on here talking about this, talking about that. And then the next thing, some people say, what does he know? I tell you what I know is I know what it is to have nothing. I know what it is to be without money. I know what it is to be down and out. Been there. I know what it's like to have. I know what it's like to have not. And if you're sitting there and you're really in that place of lack, you can come out of that space. You can get out of that space. My wife, I share this story because it's true. It was one of the most heartbreaking things. Well, there's quite a few things like that, but it was come home one day and she had been in tears because she'd been shopping and she'd had to put items back, and there was lots of people at the of course it couldn't happen anywhere else but M&S, could it? You know what I mean? But it was like, it was a long time ago, but that gets you thinking. And lucky for me, I got a woman who believes in me like I believe in her. But you see, we kept going round in circles because we had a sabotaged loop, and we invested time and money to bring it all together. That's what I want to share with you. So if you're sitting there and you haven't got this month's rent, yeah, I know what it's like. But she had to put the money back. I know what it's like to go and pay for something and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I hope that's going to go through. I hope that's going to go through. It ain't nice, is it? But you don't have to stay there. It's your choice. Yeah, sorry if that's a bit aggressive, but I just want the best for you. I really do. Now, here's the thing. You got to put it into work. What happens is people do the easy stuff, but it's about doing the stuff you need to do when you need to do it, and it's daily. You can put an hour of your life every single day, or 1 hour minimum. By the way, you'll be putting more in once you get used to it, but 1 hour differently. And that difference is going to be going to have you doing certain things for an hour. As you get better at it, even less. But you give me 1 hour a day, I'll give you any goal you really want. A big statement, isn't it? It's a big statement, but it's true. Because how do I know it's true? Because I do it. I've worked it. I've changed my life. But it's not about me. It's about you. Got to be about you. You're the most important person in your life. Even if you've got children, even whatever it is, because you've got to be right. You've got to be the best version of you for your children. If you look at, I live in the UK, and if you look at the UK now, there's generation after generation after generation on welfare. I've used welfare because a lot of people listening in North America, and I'm sure it's the same in North America. But you see, when people are brought up and all they know is a certain thing, that's what they go and do. And up until somebody says enough is enough. And that's what this is about. Okay, that's what this is about. So let's look at this. Earl Nightingale, lovely statement. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, ideal is obviously a goal. It's your ideal thing that you want to be, do, or have. But look at that. Success is the progress. I better get that last bit, progressive. Realization of a worthy ideal. Well, that means the opposite of that. Because remember, this is the thing. Life's about opposites. You can't have left without right. You can't have up without down. You can't have black without white. You can't have on without off. It wouldn't make sense, would it? So what's the opposite of this? That means if you don't have a goal, you're failing. Because you're either growing or you're not. You don't stay still in this life. It's a whole world of motion. Yeah, we live in an ocean of motion, Bob Proctor always used to say. So you're either moving forward, doesn't matter what the goal is. As long as it's a good goal, I shouldn't say that, but your goal is your goal, it's your world, it's your life. And up until now, my hallucination is quite simply, you've probably been living other people's goals. It may be your partner's. That's a big one to swallow, and it really is. Some partners aren't aware of them, that they don't let the ones they love live. But you see, if you're not achieving your goals, I guarantee you're achieving somebody else's goals. Yeah. If you're not achieving your goal, you are achieving somebody else's goal. Fact of life. Because if you're getting up and going to work and you don't have a goal, you're achieving the company's work. You know, that's what happens. But you've got to understand this, is if you want to be, do and have more, at the moment, if you're working, congratulations, first of all. Over 50% of this country is apparently not working. I don't know how true that is, but I don't care. I'm not going to put my energy on it. I will certainly help people where I can. But you see, here's the thing. You're working. So that company pays you, unless you're in commission only with an open-ended commission structure, which is absolutely fabulous. when it's managed correctly with integrity. Absolutely. And if you're in sales, oh my God, you're in the highest paid industry in the world. You are. And if you're in the service industry, if you're a waiter, you're a waitress, you work in a hotel or something like that, I'm telling you, start looking around. Even though there might be a bit of fear there, get yourself in sales, because you people are dynamite. You really are. You serve. You serve. You're there when you don't want to be there, with that smile, with that tray, with that whatever you're doing, and you look smart and you are the part, and you turn up to serve. And that's where in life, when you learn to serve whatever it is you do, yeah, because there's people. I was with a gentleman, my friend Grant, and might sound a little bit whatever, but it's the truth. I was getting some helicopter lessons, and yeah, it sounds funny, I know, not bad for a little lad from a bit dodgy with numbers and figures and all that, right? And a school with nothing. Not because I was a bit stupid or nothing. I just wanted to get out into the world, you know. But luckily, I got the gift of wanting to learn. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and he's introduced me to 4 of his friends. My friend, right, he already flies, and we was having lunch, and he said, "This is I can't remember the gentleman's name, but you see, when I talk about serving, he started off serving in a Burger King. Now, whether you love them or whether you don't, it's academic. He started off by serving in Burger King." And as the conversation went on, he said, "I've just sold 16 of them." He had 16 franchises. Going back to the gentleman, yeah, who started down at Heathrow, baggage collecting off the thing. Now owns hotels, car parks, other great things. This gentleman, from going there, learning how to, you know, I guess they call it flip a burger and do some fries and what have you, and all that. He went on to own 16 and sold them all. And I can't remember what the other guy. There was 4 of us at the table, and there was another one in that industry as well. But he was in the competitors. He had a couple of McDonald's franchises. But you see, why do I share that? Because anything's possible, and it doesn't matter where you start, because where are you going to be 5 years from now? You're never too old to start. Never too young to start. There's quite a few millionaire 16, 17-year-olds on the planet now, thanks to IT, thanks to the internet. Yeah. There's there's a young lad playing football. If you're watching the soccer in the World Cup at the moment, who was it for? He was 17. Youngest person to be in a World Cup. I can't think who it was. But you see, he'll be a millionaire if he's not already one now. Now, it's not about being a millionaire, but he's doing his passion. You know, he's probably grown up kicking a ball in the street like we all did, and up against a garage or a wall, and then learn some tricks and skills and what have you. You know, we used to throw our jumpers in the corner in the field, and, you know, play a game of football, and having the jumpers as the goalposts. Now, I never was any good at football. I got to play for some good teams, but friends of mine went on to, you know, Tottenham and other places and things like that. And it's like, follow your passion. But success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. What's your goal? But the mistake you might be making is, like I did for many years, you're trying to work out how to do it. Nah, what this man done here, Earl Nightingale and Mr. Conant, yeah, his business partner, they changed the industry. They changed life for millions of people on this planet, because, you know, they put together personal development as we know it. They really did. Now, so if you've got a goal, if you want to be a failure or a success, you need a goal to be a success. But you're already winning, you don't realize it. I mean, I don't talk about it here, but what's your wins? You got kids. What a win that is every day to see your kids. Get a hug. Hey, get a hug. Don't matter how they got to be with you. They're here, and you love them with every ounce of them. That's a win. Another life on the planet because of you, who can be just like anything they want to be, do, and have. Don't matter where you are, but you can also get them to where they want to be. Because what's going into that tiny little mind at such a young age is shaping their life. Been proven. It's scientific fact. Scientific fact. You know, you can take the likes of children now under about, I think it's maybe 5 or 6, and they can learn so many, they're geniuses at learning languages. You think about whatever language you know, and your children know it, don't they? Because they're in the house with you all the time. They just absorb, you know. That's why they got to have a can-do attitude. That's why you got to have a can-do attitude with the children. It's like, you know, and you're talking to your kids and it's like, and they say, I can't do it. I say, well, do you want to do it? And they say, yeah. I say, well, we'll find a way. Let's do it. Yeah. Let's just take the T off the end of can't and you've got can. Small changes, yeah? Okay. I'm getting excited. Can't help it. Sorry. I'm holding back as well. I really am. I love it. But let's look at what's going on. You've got something going on within you, the same as a plane. An automatic pilot is what flies a plane. It's got something in it called a cybernetic instrument. And that is programmed to take you where you want to go. And you get in that plane. And you get in that plane and you sit down and you're waiting for your meal when you're there. And there's a computer flying your plane. You might see the pilot get up and go to the washroom if you're sitting at the front. I used to love it when Bob Proctor used to say that. He said, I used to sit down, he said, and they gave me a menu. He said, brilliant. He said, and then one time I was on a flight, I said, Mr. Proctor, would you like to have a shower before we land? He went, I didn't want a shower. He said, but I've never had a shower up there in the sky. I mean, he made so many lives different, didn't he, and what he brought together. But that's another story. But you see, let's get back to the mind. What flies that plane? I don't mean the engine. I mean the program that gets it from where it takes off to where it is once it's in the air, and some of these planes can land now automatically. But that's nothing to do with a cybernetic system. This is to do with where you are programmed. It's like a missile, which is a sad part of a cybernetic problem. A missile destructs and it causes damage. But you see, the flight programs put in. You've got your own version of one of these in here. It's been proven time and time again. I can tell you now, I prove it myself with the results I get. And you will, because you're going to, after tonight, look at the results that you've got in your world and realize it's been the program you're running. But we've got to just open the door to these blind spots, because it's the blind spot that needs to fall away for you to stop the self-sabotage. And once you really get present to the fact that you're creating your world, oh man, it's amazing. It's amazing. But so we're talking about a cybernetic instrument, and I'm telling you, that's come from somebody understanding what it is to be human. So it's all about creating your desired change, because you have to change who you're being. Because if you're somebody without, you want to change and be somebody with. If you have a lack of something, you want an abundance of something. It ain't rocket science. That's terrible English. My wife is going to be right in my ear for that when I finish, but there you go. What can I say? But you see, this is why. I made it easy yesterday. I just said create a goal. But, you know, maybe start writing stuff down and whatever. And that's when I can say, I would have said today, if you'd have been one of those people on the call at 12 noon, is what's on your list? And some said, oh, I got this, and this. I said, well, what this? I went for one thing. Well, that just told me that somebody's really passionate, and that's good. Also told me somebody's very focused, and that's good. Does that make sense? One goal, super focused. The other person's focused, but oh man, they're starting to let loose with the dreaming and everything. Because you've got to dream. You've got to Zig, Bob Proctor, I think Wayne Dyer used to. They say fantasize about what you want. See, and then you write it out, and there's something goes on so powerful with the power of a pen. There's some great papers there. I've got one on one of the blogs somewhere, and there's something neurological goes on when you write your goals out. And if you write it out with the opposite hand, you learn how to write. If you're right-handed with your left and you're left-handed with your right, there's something else goes on. It really gets embedded in that magical place that we're going to talk about shortly. But you've got to write them out. Have a description of what it is. And if you don't know what it is, I'm in a conversation with my wife at the moment, and we know we want to live somewhere that, you know, we can describe what it's like, but we haven't worked out where it is yet. So we're doing a bit of traveling to find out what is going to tick that box, because it's about the feelings. It's about, you know, these things that just light us up. You only get to live once on this planet, certainly in this shell, as far as we know. So let's change what we need to change. Where you are is perfect. You might feel down, you might be a little bit depressed, is a word I often hear. You might feel the world's against you. So let's draw a line in that. You can say enough's enough, whatever you want to do. We're going to train the little dude inside your head, or the little dudette. I'll say that again. We're going to retrain the little dude or dudette, because that little voice that goes off about 30 seconds to a minute after you wake up, for a lot of people, once you've hit the snooze a few times, stop doing that. So what we got to do is we're going to train it, because it's that inner part of you, and we're going to talk about that shortly. And yeah, we're talking about the habits you've already got, and we're talking about that all comes from the subconscious mind. Is we're going to get into a beautiful place where we're going to just change what the normal is for that. Yeah, we're going to change what the normal is for that. I mean, there's things you do today that, you know, you once dreamed of. Maybe before you had children. I use children as a good example, because before you had children, there was times when, you know, certainly the ladies, you're thinking, I can't wait to, you know, have a little boy, have a little girl, whatever. Or maybe you're a guy who thought, I can't wait to, you know, show my son this, or show my daughter that, or whatever it might be. And now here you are, you've got your kids, and now like a little clip around the ear for some of you, and don't start texting about that. It's nobody there, look. But you see, we're doing things now in our life that we once dreamed of, but we got so bored with them because we didn't keep growing. Got to keep growing. Doesn't mean you've got to keep going after more and more, but keep growing as an individual. And that might be using your services and your knowledge to help other people get along. The gentleman spoke to today, he's 72 years young. And I said to him, there are so many people on this planet who would love to know what your secret is, because there you are at 72, standing upright is you know, there's an aura about him. I can see that and understand that, and it's not woo woo, it's fact. And I said, people, I know super wealthy people. My wife and I was in the Boston Mandarin in Boston, obviously, and we met this gentleman, and I won't say his name. Lovely man. We was in the gym there, and he lives in the penthouse in the Mandarin Hotel. Do some Googling, and one of them, there's 4 of them, so that, get an idea. And this gentleman, we had such a great conversation and talk, and he owned one of the biggest chains of furnitures in America at one time, and he sold them to Warren Buffett. And what he wouldn't have given to have his health, and have his health for his wife. And I say that from my heart to his. I'm sure he's not listening to this. Such a beautiful soul, and got multi millions, but don't have his health and his beautiful wife. So you've got to understand, success has got to be what success is to you. And if it's just money, I'm going to tell you now, I have people join me all the time. Oh, I want to earn £100 a month. I want to do this. I want to earn whatever it might be. Companies going from like a couple of million turnover to making it serious, double figures, but getting good profit too. But it's not about that. It's about the individuals. You've got, what's the use of being the best salesman somewhere and you're off ill all the time? Or you're out selling, but your family's at home. So we get the whole circle. And I'm going to show you how to put that picture together. Yeah. Van Gogh, I think it was, who used to say, I dream my, oh wow, it's got straight out of my head there. My wife only said this to me this morning. I dream my painting and then paint my dream. Yeah. Because we work in pictures. You work in pictures, I do. You don't even realise it. The moment you realise it and you see that the projector's going on in here, yeah, and it's the sound that affects the projector. What's the sound? It's often your own voice or what you're unconsciously letting come in here. So anyway, this was yesterday's work. Look at it, creating your desired change. Who you got to be, because you got to be before you can do, and you got to do before you can have. So capture your goals down. Find out the key one you want in business and the key one you want in your personal life, or just one or the other for now. Let's get some proof that this works for you, and then we can really start creating and generating a life you love, because that's what it's about. Yeah. And when you do those, and I would invite you, I'm just going to turn around. I would invite you to invest in the great book, Think and Grow Rich. I got several copies. This one obviously had a lot of work, and that was bought on, or first read on the 11th of August 1991. And I said to you earlier, there's a program behind me there, and psycho-cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz. We're going to talk about that as well. But let's move on. So when that plane was in the air, it had a cybernetic program. Cybernetics is the same as what we call paradigms. Paradigms are a group of habitual habits that we do unknowingly. I throw a ball at you, some of you duck, some of you pick it out of the air with your right hand, that's my right hand, or you pick it out of the air with your left hand. By the way, tell me you can't catch, within 4 or 5 minutes I will have you catching every ball, or let's say 8 out of 10 that's thrown at you. Not at a big distance like professional. Hello? You're back. I lost you there. I don't know what happened. Technology, you got to love it. So let's talk about it. So cybernetics and paradigms are both control systems and operate essentially on the same principle. Yeah, what's programmed in, what's conditioned in, what's habitually been done up and until it becomes part of you. Both maintain a definite course of action. That's why you get so far, whether it's a relationship, whether it's financial, whether it's sport, whatever, and the same thing keeps happening up until we change something. You will not deviate off of that pattern until you make the changes. They're 2 millimeter, small changes, I promise you. Now, we just got to alter what's going on. That's all we got to do. Sounds easy, right? Most things that it's easy up and until you have to do it sometimes. This is an example of what happens with a plane. Now, it should have in there, I can't remember if I got London or Chicago on this one, but it's programmed to go from one end to the other. Where the white is would be where you start, okay? Technology, I love it, right? And if it's going to Paris, as it comes off, the pilot can be sitting there scratching his ear, or she can be scratching her ear. Doesn't matter. Is the plane's just going to go in and out. As it's knocked off, it's going to come back in. It's off target more times than it's on target, okay? Now, that's what happens with a plane. Happens in your home. If you live in a home, well, it won't have a dial like that these days if it's a new one. But you see, you set up your thermostat, and that's not quite gone how I wanted it to go. But see, you set it at 70, and the minute it drops down, okay, to the little dude at the bottom, that will kick in, and it will keep going up to 65, up to 66, up until it gets to its goal, its cybernetic set goal. I'm using the word cybernetic just because we want to get used to that. I'm going to invite you to read a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. That happens automatically. The plane happens automatically. You're doing things like I do things automatically. Now, here's the beautiful thing. We can change it. There's an enormous difference between what most people know and what they do. We know if you want to lose weight, you shouldn't eat more than a certain amount. Let me know if you have been in a situation, you're on a diet, as you call it, trying to lose weight. Don't lose weight. You're fine what you lose. Release the weight, but have a picture of what you want to do. But what do you do? Yeah. So you know what you should do, but you don't do it. Why do we do that as human beings? The conscious mind is connected to the world around us. with our senses, yeah? Talked about this briefly yesterday. The outside world is connected through what you see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. Yeah? The subconscious mind, where we talked about the cybernetic part of things, the automated part. Subconscious mind is the part of the mind that expresses whatever is impressed upon it. How do you do that? I'm telling you in a sec. But the subconscious mind is the part of the mind that expresses whatever is impressed. Think about that word, impressed upon it. We can use our senses to impress. We do use our senses. We use what we see, what we hear, what we sense, feelings. And the more emotion you put into something, the more it's programmed into your subconscious mind, into that part of the mind that's controlling your doing, your actions, all of our actions. Now, you've got to understand, we're using concepts. We're using these to get an understanding. There's science and there's doctors and all kinds of different people that will explain it differently or whatever, but you're looking at it in a way that works for you, because nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you. Yes, you choose to give it. And when you start looking at life like this, I promise you, things start changing for you. Okay. Now, we've talked about the mind, subconscious mind. We've talked about having a program being conditioned. Lots of that comes by you and from your environment. So you've got to surround yourself with the dreamers. I love it, I do. I've come out with things and people said, what? And I love it when they do that. Yeah, I love it when they do that. But you've got to surround yourself with people who think big. You want to be around people who are being or doing or have what you want. And you want your version of that. And that's powerful. That is powerful as well. It's got to be your version. Because sometimes, you know, people want things and don't know why they want it. What's your version? I was going to share a story, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay on track. But you see, the doers. Everybody talks. You've got to do. You've got to be before you can do. And then when you do, you get to have. Who are you going to be? You're going to be somebody who takes action. You're going to be somebody who does the work. You're going to be a great follower before you become a great leader. You followed your driving instructor because you didn't know what the left-hand signal done and the right one up. Because on one car it might be the washers, on another car the same side might be the indicators. Yeah, I was going to do a joke about driving, but I'm not going to do it. Is surround yourself with those who see greatness within you. I know I was involved in martial arts for over 30 years, and I was very blessed to be with a lot of those people not too long ago. I've been out of the arts for a while, to travel the world and do this, and I got to have a lovely meal with them about 3 weeks ago. And something my seniors always see the greatness in you. And I used to see that in my students, because it's like when I used to have a sales force, is when the guys or the ladies used to come work for us, it wasn't the person they are now that was going to get their greatness. It was who we knew they could become. It was because they would adapt and change in such a way that they would serve and sell products and services that work for those people and companies that bought them. Yeah, too many people just sell because they want to close the sale and do that, and it comes off the books and it gets people bad names. Selling is such a beautiful service industry. If you're married, you sold to your partner for them to say yes, and vice versa. There's always a sale going on somewhere along the line, an exchange. Anyway, I diverse. But you see, within you is greatness. Within this work, and I promise you, within this work is you get yourself out of the way and your greatness comes through. You already know people. They light up. You light up when they come in the room. And you don't know why. Because they're living from inside out. They're not letting circumstances mold their world. If you're letting circumstances mold your world, it's all you know. But we're going to change that. So let's look at it. With repetition, you created your current habits. knowingly or unknowingly, you've created the habits. If you're overweight, and I can say that because I was overweight, I'd spend a lot of money and time being the right weight now. Yes, I have a professional I work with. My wife and I own personal training studios, but it didn't matter. We had to get somebody better than us to actually break that paradigm, break that habit. Yeah? Because I picked up some habits along the way and you know, it's understanding. We do it. You don't accidentally fall over, trip up, and you've ate something, do you? Do you know what I mean? I shouldn't say that, but it's true. We don't accidentally do this. It's a habit, and we can break it. I have a dear friend, and I haven't seen him for a long time, and he come on a call with me maybe about 6-8 weeks ago. I didn't recognise him. He's turned his life around. It's, oh my God, it's upside down, inside out, and backwards. He's just a different person, him and his lady. They've just, something triggered it in their mind and their heart and their soul, and they've just gone out and just lost so much weight and got healthy, and they're doing all this wonderful stuff. And it's beautiful. I shouldn't put my hand over the mic, right? But you see, their habits got them where they was, but their new habits changed it. To make permanent changes in your life today, I'll help you do it. 3 things you will learn from this day's 2 session. Okay, it's going to go on a bit longer, and I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So, hey ho. So, how to turn a negative behavior into a positive one. You're going to learn that. You're going to a repeatable process to change any habit. Paradigm, which is a group of habits. A strategy as well, which is important. But you've got to put it into action, and I'll do everything in my power if you're willing to step up to help you. But you've got to step up, not just step up when it's easy, when I've got you motivated, when you feel good. Yeah, because when you're committed to something, you do it anyway. Yes, you do it anyway. Okay, so let's understand. A habit is an idea that's fixed in a person's, your mind, subconscious mind. It causes us or them to do something without any conscious thought whatsoever. I talked about throwing the ball and you'll just catch it, get out of the way, whatever you're programmed or conditioned to do. A paradigm is a multitude of these habits that causes our habitual behavior. Now, you have some really good ones and you have some great ones, but I'm figuring there's a few you want to change, whether it's health, relationships, whatever it might be. Yeah, it may be money, it may be wealth, it may be abundance, it may be you don't know at the moment. You want to become somebody who always knows what they want. Now, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? I've heard somebody say, oh, everybody knows what they want. Only if they're in front of somebody who knows to ask the right questions. And sometimes you've got to dig deep. And you've got to hold a beautiful space for them. See, at times we do things we do not want to do. We get results we do not want. We do it again and again. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. You've got to understand that the paradigm in your subconscious, that's what controls all of our actions. Yeah. And if you doubt it just for a second, just realize if you're blessed, like maybe 95, 96% of people on the planet to be able to walk when you was taught as a kid to walk, as a child, why do you think you can carry on walking? Because it was conditioned into your brain. That's why sadly when people get so old in life, some people, they lose that ability because it's affected what's going on in the mind, in that part of the brain that runs automatically. Okay. Common error is trying to change results by changing behavior. That's called fighting it, willing against it. Now we're going to talk about the will in a different way. Use it. Will is one of our faculties. Yeah, like our imagination that is there. When you use the will to stay focused on the picture that you create, when you use the will to stay focused on the picture you create, yeah, and you stay in the game, you stay doing the things, by doing things in a certain way and staying with that picture, you will never, ever go back to forcing something to change. Some things start changing so quickly, it's scary. And when life starts taking off, anybody who's really broken through the seal of business into that next level. You know, the success comes so fast you had to hold on. I love that. But you see, there's a difference, a big difference between what you know and what you do. And as we, for those that go on and do programs with us, is we could call it the knowing doing gap. And it's simple because we know, and we know we shouldn't, but we still do. And I'm sure, I don't know why the comments aren't on today. That's me. But you see, we do things we know we shouldn't, and there's things we know we should do, but we don't do. And it's like, oh, I'll do it next time, or I'll do it later. Yeah, how's that playing out years on? So let's look at this now. You've got your subconscious mind. Now, as I said earlier, this is new software we're using, so it's really interesting. It's not allowed me to use the slide-ins. So I'll tell you, we'll look at the subconscious mind. If you look into your booklet, okay, if you look into your booklet, what we've got going on there is quite simply what we've got going on up there. We've got your conscious mind. So you can draw it in there. You got your conscious, you got your subconscious. And again, put a white, there'll be a big white line across that. I've got on here for these purposes, got that. Now, what I would then invite you to do is write in here, conscious mind. I want you to write subconscious mind in here because my slide hasn't done what I want it to do. But when I talk about circumstances, that's an outside circumstance. It doesn't stop me wanting to share what works with you. Does that make sense? Outside circumstances, the thing didn't want to do what it wanted to do because I didn't test it under that circumstance with the new software. So responsibility is taken, but the goal doesn't change to have you want to understand that if you look at this top half as your conscious mind, that's where you get to choose, you get to think. In there it can, yeah, no, don't matter. Underneath here in the subconscious, back to the last slide, is everything that's in there is your self-image, what you believe about yourself. Yeah. What you like, what you don't like. Everything in there is what, as you get into action. If you think this through about getting into action, it took me a while to get that into my mind. But once I got it into my mind, oh my God, because it's who you're being that determines whether you get up and go to work. It's who you're being, yeah, the picture you have of your self-image. Do you dive out of bed in the morning because you've got a hell of a goal to achieve? Or do you dive out of bed in the morning because life is just good? Because you've chosen consciously so long and for so often consciously chosen that I got a good life, I live a good life, even when it was stacked against you. Even when it was stacked against you. I was listening to Earl Nightingale, and he tells a story of a gentleman who was asked on a park bench. No, he was asked, when did you? I give it away there. He asked this guy, and he owns a chain of hotels, massive. Not the gentleman I was talking about earlier. This is an American gentleman, and he was asked in an interview one day, when did you, you know, have this goal of having all the stuff that you have and doing all the things you do? He said, when I was living on a park bench, it was a vagabond, nothing. But he had a goal and a dream, and he worked his way through. And again, I mentioned to you earlier, grab the book, Think and Grow Rich. There's a great story in there. There's several great stories in there. But you see, when you got the picture in here, the way always turns up. And as I say to everybody who gets on to do things like this, work with me and all kinds of things, is that you've got to stop trying to work out the how before because if you try and work out the how, you don't know the bloody how, do you? Because if you knew the how, you'd be doing it. Whether it's relationships, money, work, sales, whatever it is, health, diet. At the moment, my hallucination is what you're doing is what I used to do. Yeah. Is look at the results and then do it. So your self-image is a cybernetic. Remember the plane? Plane's taking off, the plane's going here. What's it going to do? It's programmed to land here. Ain't going to land over there, is it? Because it can't. It doesn't know any different. Your subconscious mind doesn't know any different. It will do what it's told. But you got to learn how to condition it. And as we learn how to condition it, you get to work with us, is one of the things I share is how to scramble all bad things that have happened to you. We don't want to just ignore them and tuck them away, because then they stay in your body. They stay in your body. They turn up. There's all kinds of aches and pains. You know, I would say put it in the messages, but for some reason it's not triggered on. But you see, when you go, where do you hold things? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your neck? Is where you hold it, is it's not doing good for your health. That's another conversation, but we'll learn, hopefully, to not hopefully, I don't care what it is. I work with all kinds of people that had horrendous things done to them, or it might just be a money thing or a health thing or whatever it is. If you're willing and you're able, and get rid of it in less than 30 minutes. Gone. Boom. But let's forget about that. So your self-image is a cybernetic. Your self-image, that subconscious, the lower part of it. Yeah, the bit that's conditioned and programmed, the things that as you take action or not. So when a person who's overweight goes on a diet without changing their self-image. Remember I said you change your self-image by the picture you hold. But the only way you change anything is through spaced repetition or a major event. 9/11 was a major event. For some people, they were heartbroken, and quite rightly so. I have friends in New York, beautiful friends in New York. But there was people, Tony Robbins was doing an event, and he shared, when I wasn't at his event then, but the event we was at, and he said, I was torn apart. He said, you know, my country's been hit. He said, I've got people from all over the world. He had about 100 people at an event. He said, and they were from all beliefs and faiths. And he said there was people celebrating, there was people like not knowing what was going on and just in tears. Now, he's just sharing the point. See, nothing has any meaning you give it. It'd be great if we lived in a beautiful, peaceful world. It would be beautiful. But now, that in an instant, bang, changed people's paradigm. Some for joy, some for hatred, some for all kinds of things. That is a thing. You can be at a wedding and dancing and having fun, and somebody comes up and puts their hand on your shoulder, right? And you're in this beautiful state. Somebody, you might be a bit down and not having a good day, and somebody 6 months from now comes up and hits you in the same way. And within, you won't even realize it, you'll click out of that state. That's how clever the mind and body is. Because in an emotional state of joy and fun, somebody put an anchor on you. It can happen at a funeral, sad as can be. Somebody comes up and, you know, ooh, I shouldn't say it like that, that's all I can think of. And they put their hand on your arm. Somebody does the same thing a year later, and you don't know why you're having a bad day. You feel terrible. That is the power of this beautiful thing called our body. And so go back to self-image being a cybernetic instrument, measures the deviation from the set goal and immediately corrects course. That weight that you've lost will be found. That's why you release weight into the picture that you want to be. You ever notice you lose something, you find it again? Hopefully if it's something you really want. But you see, you're a cybernetic individual. Maxwell Maltz, when he wrote the book, Psycho-Cybernetics, what he realized, he was working with, he was a plastic surgeon, and he was changing people, how they look and appear, not like today. Oh my God, what is going on with you if you're doing that? Stop it. But it's like so many beautiful people having stuff done to their face. And it's going to be, it's 2026 now. It's going to be the adverts, it's going to be lawyers all over it going, did you have this done in 2020, whatever? Yeah. Don't do it. You're already beautiful. You're a beautiful person already. Like Ziggy used to say, if you've got big ears or something like that and you just want a little thing done, yeah, 2mm changes. Not all this stuff. It's like, oh my God. I apologise if I've offended you, but you're already beautiful. You don't need anything put into you, yeah? I mean, maybe I don't know what I should do, but at 63, I'm kind of happy the way I roll, if you know what I mean, through good living. And when I say good living, I don't mean up partying and all that. I just mean working out, finding, I've modelled myself on people who are still young at heart. And, you know, you got to do the same. But you see, up until you learn how to consciously put in that lower part of your thinking. Now, it's only for this, we know that, you know, they say that mind is in every cell of the body. Now, I know that you know, certain people, certain medical industries would say it's not, but it's for this instance. You've got to get the picture. When Dr. Furman came out with this picture, it was life changing, because if you haven't got a picture, you've got nothing to play into. And you ain't going to believe your new picture for a while until you, under space repetition, you keep getting into you, and it goes from being in that top half into the bottom half. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. You know, we're going to talk about what the fear is and why people get so far and stop. That's the self-sabotage. You get to do this. You get to day one, get the goal. Day two, start getting it into your system. Then you're going to hit something called, we call it the terror barrier. Yeah. Some people call it anxiety. It's not anxiety. It is something. It's all over the place, whatever, and it's all about energies. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So, some of you, if you know, anxiety is a horrendous thing, but a lot of people who say they got it, it's not actually anxiety. A lot of people have it, and there's a way through it, and there's people to help. But you see, like a lot of things on the planet, because of this, everybody's, you know, mental health day and stuff like that. And I can speak from that. I have a lot of knowledge in that area. So if you want to jump on that bandwagon, please jump on it. We'll have some fun with it, because my mum was mentally ill all her life because of how she was treated by the industry. Yeah. So I know quite a lot about that. So when I tell you, you can change your mental health, if you want to, you can. And people will start treating you for the wonderful person you are, and not all how they, because you'll turn up how people treat you, even if they're not in your space. But I diverse. But that's all been proven. That has been proven, but it's hard to put it across because the medical industry don't want you to know it. And I had a wonderful conversation. Yes, I'm diverse, but this is powerful. I had a conversation with a doctor, a medical doctor, and his words to me were quite simply this: yes, you're right, but it's only just starting to change because they're finding ways to get money out of it. And it's the same. And I don't care whatever you want to do. I've got all the facts. I've got everything behind me on that one. And I've witnessed it with my eyes, my body, everything. I love you, and you shouldn't suffer. You should not suffer. I'm here to help in any way I can. So, we'll come back to it. This is what I want you to get from yesterday. Writing causes thinking. Thinking creates an image. And a bit of playing going on with that. So you write out what you want, and then, what does that look like? The image stirs your emotions. You're in control of them. Emotions causes the actions. You know, when people say, I didn't feel like going to work, well, you're in the wrong job. But action sets up a reaction, cause and effect. But you see, you have to do everything in a certain way. And even before the writing, there's something else happens. And happens in here. You have to think. Most people don't think. There's a great quote out there, and I can't think who it was who said it. It might have been Steve Butler, I'm not sure. Or it might have been Earl Nightingale, actually. And he said, like, most people don't think. He said, most people actually think they'd be scared. It would frighten them. Most people just follow the crowd. I was having a cup of coffee in a place in the city the other day with my wife, and part of their logo is don't follow the herd. And I thought, that's great. That's great. And then it was spoiled by a sign that's up there trying to save the planet and be all woo-woo, and it was like, money is not important. I tell you now, money is, Zig Ziglar used to say, he said, if you're honest with yourself, it's just as important as air, because you need it to live. You need it to buy your food. You need it to pay your bills. You need it. It should never be a leader in life. It should never be there, but it's like money goes with everything. You don't get to wear the clothes you wear if you didn't have money. And if you're somebody at this stage watching this, and you can't afford to go and buy bits and pieces, and you get support with it, then that's beautiful. But the people who are supporting had to have money to buy the clothes to pass them on. But you see, my goal is, whoever you are, wherever you are, let's get you where you want to be. And that might just be with a roof over your head. Now, there's quite a few of you want a big roof over your head, or you want some great goals. I'm daring you to dream. You got to dream big, and you got to get there. I call my company Dreams into Reality, turning dreams into reality, because that's what I do. Because what you want, your desire, your fantasy is a dream at the moment. I mean, I know what it's like to be scared to even think of it. There was a time when I couldn't think that big because I was scared what other people think. I always used to think it's all right for the other guy, it's all right for him, it's all right for her, but not for me. Till we done a survey and found out, guess else? I'll try that again. So guess who else thinks like that? Most of the planet. Anyway, I love you, but I do have to go to bed at some time. I'm only joking. True strategy that changes your habits. If you've written your goal out, and you would have been shown today, jumped on that earlier call, is now you haven't, because I understand it's called a paradigm, it's called work, it's called all kinds of things, but we can create another one. Okay. At the end of this Friday evening, I'm going to stay online another 3 or 4 hours. And sometimes I do that if that's what it takes to answer questions, to help you create what you want to create. Some people will go on to work with me. I reject more people than I take on, because it's no good taking somebody's investment, time and money if they're not quite ready. And we know when you're not quite ready. Half of those people come back when they are ready. But I diverse. So you're going to write out a list. Get yourself a little bit of music going. Jump on a bouncer. I have a bouncer just not too far from me now. I'm sitting in my office. My office is next to my gym, and my gym has a really nice little bouncer, and I love it. Yeah. And change my state, because your state is who you're being. And you jump on a bouncer, get some music going, whatever. Sit down, don't get disturbed, dream. Write down everything you want to be, everything you want to do. Don't wait for a bucket list. Jesus. A bucket list is you saying, I'm near the end. It's not that. It's not that. I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. That gentleman I spoke to today was 72. I was telling him a true story. When I was down learning to fly, is a guy used to come in. He was 77 or 79, and he was learning to fly a bloody helicopter, and he's got his license now. So you're never too old. Everybody knows about Colonel Saunders. You're never too old. All you got to do is one of the most biggest things you've ever done. I'm going to let a little bit out here. You got to make a decision, because when you make a decision to go on holiday, you get everything done. You don't miss that flight, do you? Well, some of you do. I know somebody who's often sends me a message. I've missed another one, but there you go. But they always get where they want to go. Yeah. But their paradigm is doing it in that kind of way. But it's all good. But you see, this is a strategy. You read your new description every day. Imagine, what would it be like for you when you close your eyes and it's done? Who would you be listening to? Who would be saying, oh my God, I knew you could do it? Or, oh, wow. Or the one you love, you look at their face, because I know somebody who bought their dad a beautiful car. What a beautiful thing to do. 4 years prior to that, they was overdrawn, had no idea how their life was going to work and turn out. That person, I think they're awesome, because not only have they turned their life around, they're making a difference to the people they love. You can do that too. Yeah. When you write it out and then repeat every day for 30 days, reading out this one thing that, you've written it down from the list you're going to be, do, or have. You picked it out. You might pick one in your business, pick one in your, just one in your business, just pick one in your personal life. Get the Think and Grow Rich. Mine's there. I've got it's not an original, but it's a book of the original notes that he wrote on it up there. It's fascinating. But you see, read that persistence chapter. If you could read it with your wife, my wife and I haven't done it for a while, to be honest. We would do it at least once a year when we shared that back in 2015. And for probably 15, 16, 17, 2018, we would do it at least once a year, every day, 30 days, and just sit there and read. We read other things at the moment, and we there's a reason, and we'll give you the science, and we'll give you the things to read behind that moving forward. And we do that. Repetition's the mother of skill, so long as the repetition is the right stuff. Habit is what has us work and be who we are. Anyway, Guys, take a little look at what's going on for you. Look at the homework. Okay. I've got to go and have a little look myself. Gone on a little bit. I was going to tell you it could go on up sometimes up to 90 minutes. These can. There's a couple of free PDFs for you to download. They're got some great stuff in them. You got the self-confidence formula from Napoleon Hill. It is in the book, but that's in the download inside your workbook, exercise book, whatever you want to call it. There's some wonderful affirmations in the other download, okay? But go through this and answer the questions that's there for you. If you're not sure, reach out and I'll send you a link to get one, okay? But you see, answer the questions. Put your stick man together. Have a little understanding of it. Put it in the Facebook group. Put it in the Facebook group. Tomorrow is a powerful day too. But you see, have a look at the summary of today. Look at the summary of yesterday. Because you really are your own problem, but you are your own solution. You are no different to me. I'm no different than, you know, friends of mine who inspired me and showed me the way. And, you know, I'm showing you things this week people pay to get, but I think why should people pay to get? It's all on shelves and things like that. Now, there is another level where people do that. But if you follow what I'm sharing with you and you go back and look at the recordings, yes, yesterday didn't come through right, so we put another recording up with the same stuff in it. And reach out. There's things I'll do to help you, I promise. My hand on my heart, I will do that. Your life will change. Yeah. Remember, opposites, black, white, up, down. Success in life is an inside-out job. What you see, hear, taste, smell and touch is just your senses observing what's happening for you. I think you're fabulous. Yeah, when I say I'm grateful, I'm honoured to be here and serve with you, I am. I love you, I love everybody. That's the kind of fella I am. I get in a lot of trouble. No, I don't get in trouble for saying that. But you see, you know it's genuine. And I know that you, yeah, you're special. Why is that? Because you're human. And you're looking to better yourself. Who you are today is fabulous. Who you are is great. But you're looking to take it to that next level. Keep looking, keep climbing. Zig's work used to be see you at the top. I love that. You know, but when you get there, there's always another level. Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow night. The recording will be uploaded tonight. I love you. See you later. Have fun.